Hey, what's up, guys? It is Finn and Adler from another episode from far, far away. No, I'm just kidding. Right here locally in the United States. This is an episode from the Best U Nation.
Hello, guys. I'm finishing writing up some notes for today's episode, but this is the Best U Nation. Um, so I guess we'll start off the best way we know how. Is Finn? You got to let us know what's new, what's happening with your life.
What's new? What's happening? Well, right this second. Well, I just got over the cold. So if you listen to the next episode, you probably hear how raspy and disgusting I sounded. Got over whatever I had. Some say it's COVID. We'll leave names anonymous. And some say it could have been a strep. We'll leave those anonymous as well. But nevertheless, I'm getting over this disgusting cold. Anonymous. Am I saying it wrong?
You are anonymous.
Anonymous?
Yes.
Whatever.
Yes. Okay, sorry. I was just like you.
That's okay. I thought the first time I said it sounded like I butchered it.
It's like it said it kind of.
I know it sounded a little weird.
Okay, it happens. It's okay.
It's I would say everything so far. It's like I've been. It's the same thing. I mean, obviously, it's another week to be focused on being the best version of yourself. I would say that we've been spending a lot of time on the back end. We say this every week. I think we say this a lot. We spend a lot of time on the back end, just pushing to grow the podcast more and more each year. And I feel like I've learned a lot about some new stuff to kind of help with that. And other than that, just focusing on our wedding coming up and getting into school. Just taking it one day at a time. How about yourself, man? How are you? How are things with you? You got a lot coming up, right? The next week or two?
Yeah, I mean, doing pretty good. So I can't complain. The biggest thing for me is I've been like I'm kind of doing like this challenging myself to this new fast. I don't want to go in like crazy detail about it, but once I'm done, like it's just kind of like a clearing, mental decluttering, just to kind of get things like focused. And so I'm doing that currently. Gonna do some R&R, visit some place called Big Sur. Apparently, this is like the one spot that like all the movie scenes, like if you ever see like any car movie or car scene where they're like driving around like the hills and stuff like that, it's usually filmed in Big Sur. So I'm getting a chance to kind of just go out there, explore, and just enjoy the scenery, I guess. And then my brother actually comes into town, so just have a lot like happening one after another. So
yeah. Well, it sounds like you're definitely like it's my side of town is like boring, man. Like I have just a bunch of we did taxes and getting our tax stuff together.
Yeah,
but it sounds like you've got a wonderful week ahead of you, or a couple weeks ahead of you, and obviously that's always a really good thing to have, especially when you're busy, you're working hard. You do need that time to recuperate. I think that's important, especially since that's what we talk about here about being the best version of yourself. Is you get so used to doing something over and over and over again. Like you get so used to this consistent, mundane routine, thing called being a little bit too comfortable with life. Sometimes I think you get comfortable with when you've figured something out, you've learned something, or you have become, you're used to it. And so you find yourself, and I know that sometimes, in life we try to find those places of comfort, and we like to stay in them because, what we've talked about this before, being comfortable is something we do naturally. We try to be comfortable. We try to find a place of comfort, and we do talk about being uncomfortable and how it promotes growth. So. It's funny because you sent me a text earlier. We kind of did a last minute. We're busy, both of us. We got a busy week. I'm still working, and you're going to be, getting things going. So
It's the pre-show meeting. That's
it was a very quick one.
yeah.
That was a pretty quick pre-show meeting. But you had asked me. Well, actually, I asked you what the topic was, and you suggested we talk about. Do you want me to read this verbatim, or do you just want to dive in and talk about it, divulge and unfold?
I guess you bring up the topic just so that they can kind of like get an idea of what we're gonna be going into.
Okay. I mean, I like it. I like the way that it's very quick, simple, to the point, and it's the
Yeah.
dangers of being too comfortable. And like it has like this like edgy kind of connotations when at least when I hear it, because when
What
you
makes you
add
say
the
that?
word, what's that?
What makes you say like edginess?
It's edgy. So when you think of the word comfortable and then you add the word dangerous, like you wouldn't see those two words necessarily in the same sentence. And I think that in itself, when you hear dangerous and comfortable, that should be like alarming. And I guess that to me, when I hear the like in that sentence, it kind of like it was like, whoa, this is kind of weird that we're talking about this because I'm used to hearing being comfortable. I'm thinking about like my life, and I think about being in a place where things are working out for me, or maybe in a place where I'm in my favorite like PJs at home on the couch, relaxing, watching TV. For you, you got R&R coming up, but you have to go through something called work and work really hard, and maybe do a tough assignment, and then the reward is that I get to do a little R&R. But that was the first initial reaction for me personally. Like when you texted the dangers of being too comfortable, and I
Yeah.
was like, wow, it's like almost like an oxymoron, but it's not because unfortunately there are dangers. There are dangers to being too comfortable. So I guess I'll throw you a question real quick before we even really get going. But what does it mean to you when you wrote that to me? Like when you texted that, what is it that triggered you to talk about that? Why is it that you feel, or maybe you thought that being too comfortable could potentially be too dangerous? Why was that like what why was that your thought process?
So, what I do in the beginning of part of the year, I write down like goals and like I write down like the things that I want to accomplish for the year. But instead of like doing it for like the whole entire year, I put it for like quarters. So for the first quarter of the year, and that's now until April, um, this is going to be my main priority in my life, you know? And so I was trying to do like a self eval and just to kind of figure out what areas am I actually like weak in and what areas I'm actually strong in and like how to overall like improve. And it got me really just thinking to myself. I said, all right, if I feel like I'm doing good and everything is going good and I don't really have any complaints, that means that I've gotten comfortable along the way. So I had to, I just had to kind of come to realization that sometimes being comfortable doesn't mean that you're lazy. Sometimes being comfortable is getting comfortable with the hectic schedule and the long laundry list things to do and going after it. And so you're almost like a hamster that's on the wheel and you just running, running, running. And it's that's something that I obviously didn't come on like to that like I didn't come to that end result off of my own like self discovery. It was just more so a question, and it was pointed out to me that rest is important, and I don't prioritize it enough. And so, um, the challenge was then to how do so since you're comfortable not sleeping, I'm going to challenge you to get uncomfortable and sleep a little bit more. Which it doesn't sound at first. You're thinking to yourself, "That's easy," but like for somebody who's addicted to just filling the schedule up. And that's the sad part is I can be either super productive with that time or completely unproductive. And that's like the scary thing is I don't really know how to like one or the other. I can't find a balance. I go one extreme to another, and I it's one of those things. I'm working on it. It's not easy because I can always find something to do or find something to look into, but um, I'm trying my best to I guess look at it from how do I expect to produce and be effective and efficient with my time and my work. And if that's an area that I'm not willing to actually address, then am I really self improving at all? If I'm doing all those things, am I being my 100% self? And that was the realization that I have come to. And I know it sounds hard because a lot of people don't understand that or don't relate to it. I don't sleep well. It's not like I don't like I don't really talk about it, but I don't sleep well. I probably sleep maybe 3 4 hours, and it's never like straight through. It's usually broken up. Like I'll sleep for an hour, then wake up, then I'll sleep for an hour, then I'll wake up. And so to me, I guess I got comfortable knowing that I don't sleep well anyway, so I don't even try. If that makes sense. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it also
So
doesn't that like night shift, you know?
right. So
Like,
if I feel like your environment also like I mean obviously you used to work day shifts when you were here in Florida when you
yeah.
were a staff nurse. So you're used to going home at 7, having that flexibility of having a couple hours in the evening and going to bed on a scheduled time, and then getting up and doing it again in the morning. Which I personally commend you for even being able to do night shift because I feel like night shift is like a I wouldn't say I never worked night shift because I've worked not like in the ER specifically, but just working in through the night definitely is not the same. But one of the things that you're kind of talking about, and I feel like we do this a lot because as humans, we compensate. You compensate for the time that specifically, like I have this much time in my day to accomplish A, B through Z. And the problem is that we set our goals A, B through Z, and you're not going to be able to do all things in one day. I think that the negative connotation to that is like unfortunately not everything that we set in the day is going to be done. I have things that I say that I'm going to get done and then it doesn't get done, and it's not because I'm incapable. It's just that sometimes we prioritize things differently, and so excuse me. We were kind of talking about how like you lacked a motivation or lacked like a sense of want to like, or not really that it's the lack of wanting. It's the, if I'm already not sleeping enough or sleeping good, I don't need to like put much effort. It kind of touches into one of the pillars that I personally feel like as humans we go through, and that is the concept of complacency. And I think comfort breeds complacency. Sorry, it literally diminishes the drive for us to like to move forward, because at this point it's. I feel like the word complacency is like lazy, it's like laziness, and it's like the whatever kind of approach, and it's not that you are a lazy individual, you're just being lazy or sloppy with what it is, because you already it's like, okay, another, just to go back to, I did a short the other day, and I kind of talked about how like people make the bed in the morning, and I think, or no, there's two types of people. Some people in the morning will get up and make the bed, and some people will not. Some people have a mindset of, I'm going to end up getting that bed at the end of the day anyway, so what's the point of me doing it? And that's right there as laziness, but it's actually complacency, because people don't realize that on the other side of them making the bed, it's the start of their day. It's the goal setting. It's the small goal that now triggers the rest of your day to being goal oriented. And so I don't think that you're a bad person for not sleeping. I just think that you don't make sometimes, and I'm not saying specifically just you, I'm saying generally speaking, that people, including yourself and myself, we are not going to perform at the most optimal level when you are not giving yourself enough time. In this instance, for you, it's sleep. I think for me, I'll use my, like, to give you my example, where I feel like I've gotten comfortable is, with my job. I think that's a really one that a lot of people can relate to. And I know with you, going to traveling, that was something that you could probably relate to this as well. But for the person who's not in nursing or not in healthcare, our jobs are probably one of the number one places where we get comfortable. Um, I remember when I was in transport, like, that was something that I was totally fine with. And I stuck with it, and I stuck with it, even though I absolutely started disliking it. But because I didn't want to train in another job, I didn't want to look for another opportunity. It's just easier to stick to what you're doing, even though you're not making a lot, because then you don't have to go through the struggles of, I got to get hired, I have to present myself, I have to edit my resume, and you then, because of that comfort, you sometimes miss out the opportunities. And when we don't step outside of that comfort zone, and I don't know how you feel about this, but when we step outside the comfort zone, sometimes we miss the most valuable lessons of life. It's that getting into the uncomfortable. And I know before we really started recording, we were kind of talking about how, like, if you did get what happens if you do get an extra hour or two of sleep compared to your 3 to 4, would your performance be better? Would you have a little extra oomph in your day compared to what you have now? And because you don't know what that's like yet, or maybe you haven't fully experienced it, or maybe you forgot how that is, because I'm sure you haven't slept 3 to 4 hours for your entire life every day, but you are missing out on the opportunity. And maybe you have. I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm more so just looking at it
I've
like,
been doing this for a while, man. It's been.
I mean, in all the years that I've known you, I will say, like, I do know you don't sleep a lot, and you're a go-getter. Your thing is, like, sleep when you're dead. Like, that's, I feel like, your mindset and your mantra. I think that you have to sleep so that you won't be dead sooner than you would want to be, if that makes sense. Like, I was trying to take that and kind of twist it. But what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
sleep enough where you're not dead so that you're sleeping when you're dead. Sleep enough now so you can be productive when you're alive. So when the time is when you are dead, you go to the grave knowing you were successful.
So the reason why I'm chuckling at this, because I think I understand what you're saying, and again, like, when I try to explain this to other people, people don't get it. Like, they're just like, sleep. No, I love my sleep. I value my sleep, and like, a lot of people would look at me like I have, like, two heads. But the truth is, like, it's been something I've done for such a long time that, and like I said, I know how I can be. I can be really productive with it, or I can be completely, like, lazy, earth-shatteringly lazy. So I prefer just filling up the gaps of time with other side quests or side things, like learning a different language. Like okay, so here's the way I operate my day. My day usually operates like this. One, I get up in the morning, and then obviously I pray, I give thanks, because, like, let's be honest, like, it's not guaranteed that you wake up. Then after that, I find something to mentally stimulate myself, and that can either be a podcast or a informational video or an audio book. Sometimes it just takes just sitting down silently and just meditating. So I usually incorporate one of those. Then after that, I study a language 5 minutes a day, and then I make sure that I move my body for at least 1 hour, whether it's walking, stretching, running, it doesn't matter, just anything. And then after I finish those things, I think of myself like, all right, emotionally, have I express my love and gratitude to my girlfriend? And then the next step is, have I shown it? Like, have I expressed it, and have I actually put action to it? And so that usually involves spending some form of, like, quality time or making dinner or something, like just something that's like, all right, a little small act of kindness to kind of do that. And I those are what I really desire in my life to see if it's successful. If you ask me what a successful day looks like, it looks like that. Anything else on top of that is just a bonus. So like if I can get like, I don't know, if I can get 4 hours, 5 hours of consistent restful sleep, then that's just bonus. If I have like more time to watch a
But
football,
why is it a bonus? Like why is your sleep bonus? If you didn't, so I don't want to to challenge you, but are you resistant to change though? Like, are you resistant
no,
to?
I'm gonna. So what I'm gonna try to do is just I'm gonna try to like start shutting down around like 11 o'clock, because I can't see myself being the guy that goes to bed at 6 in the morning or 6 at night. I
Well,
can't. I know
I don't think a lot of people go to bed at 6 at night.
Mark
But
Wahlberg does that, and he's a
Matt, well,
very
he makes a lot more money than you and I.
well. This is true, but that's probably why he makes a lot more money, because he follows his schedule. So,
But do you think that he? I mean, okay, but he does. You and I hustle. Okay, well, here's where I challenge you, because the man has been an actor all his life for the most part, right? At least that I know of. No, no.
he started off on a group called Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Okay, well, okay. So you and okay, let's let me rephrase this. You and I have to wake up and work a 12-hour shift to make our
Right.
pay. He doesn't really have to work 12 hours to make a paycheck. He is comfortable with where he's at financially, so he can have a schedule where it's rigorous going to bed at 6 and getting up at like 1 in the morning. But
4.
4 in the morning. So he's getting, yeah, but you and I probably can't afford that because we have to, like, we can't afford to go to bed at, you tell me you can afford to go to bed at 6 o'clock at night and getting up at, what, 4 in the morning and like having day like 6 p.m. I'm getting up.
I
I'm
don't know
still
if I don't know if I agree. Like, I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I agree with it, only for the simple fact that, like, we can do it. Like, there's an argument to be made that he leveraged his time so wisely and so well that he's making money for the times that he's spending at home. Like, you can technically use that approach as well. So I can't
okay, but how about
primarily.
all the people who don't do what Matt Wahlberg does? So what about the other successful people? Let's look at other successful people. What if they're not doing that schedule? So how do we know that his schedule or his sleep cycle that may not work for
But
everyone?
that's just his own personal way. But like, the one theme that does show is, if you look at their sleep habits, they usually have like a set, like, all right, I will go to sleep at this time and I'm going to rest for this time to this time and then get back at it. And that's honestly a theme for most of these like elitist and stuff like that. So in terms of that, I definitely could do better. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't even like fight it. Like, it's been something I've been not great at resting for such a long time that it becomes second nature now. So I have to be mindful to be like, all right, I have to shut it down. Like, shut it down. It's not the time for it. You have to be
You
present, you know?
are you afraid? Are you afraid that you don't get enough done in a day? Like, do you feel like you still need that extra 30 minutes, extra hour to really complete your day? Like, do you feel like
So
two
it
parts of the question. Do you feel like well, you answer that first part and then I'll have another follow up for you.
so it just depends, because of like, it's like I'm still trying to learn um another skill. So it just depends. Like, so when I'm like really focused on, let's say there's a potential. So I've been trying to learn how to try to dabble in swing trading, and I don't really talk about it much because it's still something I'm trying to figure it out. But it depends. Like, if there's something that I see that I'm like, I need to research this, so I'll give that a lot of time, a lot of energy, and then um, like fixate on that, so to speak, for X amount of time. And if I don't have something that I'm researching or looking at, then I, pick up like a 48-hour fast, or I, pick up, um, you know, going on a trip or like, oh, all right, so I decided I was going to run 13 miles to go to the beach and back. Like just weird stuff like that. I really just, I don't really do well at just sitting down. And I need to learn how to just tell myself, hey, it's time for a cutoff.
No,
Let's
but the reason I'm asking is because I'm right there with you, man. Like, I think that this conversation that we're having right now isn't just like a only Adler. I'm asking questions because I struggle with that myself too.
I don't have an answer. That I just like it's
Well,
just
I'm just saying, like, I think we both can say, like, we both want to get stuff done. I'm afraid that I'm not, like, my fear is that I'm not completing everything by the end of the day, even though tomorrow's not like guaranteed. So you want to get everything as much of everything possibly, man, like I could possibly do, have it done before I lay down. Um, but I also think that a lot of it is that I think we are afraid of change as a human, like as humans. We are afraid to shift our mindset and do something that we don't do on a daily basis, like change and growth. We're afraid of that because it we don't really know what's on the other side, and it like kind of goes with every really any experience in life. Like there are things like when I became an EMT and I worked in the ER, when I like went into the ER, I was scared. I had no idea what I was signed up for, even though I was like excited to go in the ER. I didn't know I was going to work in a code my second shift 4 years ago. I didn't know we were going to have a pandemic. I didn't know that we were going to get through a pandemic, right? I didn't know that to this day, like there are things that I witnessed and experienced and having to be aware of. But change, right? We limit our growth. And when we have too many, and I'm going to say this, once, I'm going to say it again. When we have an excessive amount of comfort zones, this is like the bumpers of like on a bowling lane. Then you're not really a good bowler. I mean, I hate to say this, but if you're bowling with the bowling lanes, that like the bumpers on the bowling, like on the lane, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, the bumpers. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're
Yeah.
bowling, yes, the ball is not going to. Your chance of getting a ball into the gutter is zero. But that's the fun of bowling, and that's how you get good at bowling. You know how to roll a ball down the lane because you have to throw the ball a couple times into the gutter. And so when you take the steps to get out of your comfort zones and figure out or eliminate some of the comfort zones, like your comfort zone is that I can sleep 4 hours and I'm fine. I've been doing this for so long, I'm fine. These are your comfort zones. These are things that you have come to like okay with yourself. Like you're like, oh, whatever. I only need 4 hours. I only need 5. I'm good. I can keep doing it. Just like you said, you don't have to fix something that's working. But what if you changed your mindset? This is just me giving, my thought on it. What if you looked at it? What can I do? What can I do if I got an extra hour or two of sleep? So if this is what I could do with 4 or 5 hours, imagine 6 or 7 hours. What could Adler do then? And then you would see how much more you would probably get done in a day because you have those extra 2 hours to recuperate everything you're doing. And it's like, and I'm not just trying to tell you, like I need to tell
No, no.
myself
I mean,
I'm really
I don't
bad,
disagree.
but
I
I'm
don't
really bad at
disagree
this
at
too.
all.
I suck at
Yeah.
going to bed. I suck at winding down. I suck at like just putting the phone down or putting the book down or just brushing my teeth and saying it's time to shut the lights out. Go to bed. Like I have such a hard time with that because I feel like I got to get everything done. And you remember I used to do the website like that. So I don't know. I just feel like we become complacent with our time. We limit our growth because we have too many comfort zones. We don't really we risk aversion. Like we don't want to take the risks to grow. We don't want to take the risk to either fail and try again. And then we miss so many opportunities.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you feel like sometimes when you lay your head to sleep, like what keeps you up at night? You know what I'm saying? Like, and obviously it's a kind of heavy question. You don't have to go too deep about it. Like, I don't want you to like, go crazy about it. But I'm saying there are things that are in your life that just keep you up at night. And you can either ignore whatever those feelings are, or you can figure out how to fine tune it and just kind of make that your goal, make that your mission. And so, in a lot of ways, I operate pretty well. Like I can say that. But in other ways, it's give and take. What I'm sacrificing for in terms of activity or doing something, I'm also sacrificing my on sleep. So it's something I got to be better about, and I know I know that for sure. And I keep telling myself I'll prioritize it, but I think the best way moving forward is to just be like, all right, let's make sure that I get at least 5 hours, even if I'm laying in bed and I'm not like doing anything, just 5 hours where I'm laying there straight. And
Well,
even
that's rest. So there's resting and there's sleeping. And like I feel like even if you lay there and you don't sleep, your body's still getting the rest that it needs.
so my question now becomes, what keeps you up at night? Like
What keeps me up at night?
yeah,
Well,
like what's
it
that?
just depends on the situation. Like there are days where it's, what could I have done differently at work? How could I have handled a situation at work differently? That's just, it's a first go to. It's so cliche, but there's that. And there's not much you could do. I mean, the only thing I could think of is like you just go to work and do a little bit better the next day. The other thing is like, and this is more personal, but it's like, what kind of person was I in society today? Like, how was I in my community? Was my spouse? Did our conversation end the way that we wanted it to? Did we go over everything the way that we wanted to? Did we talk about the things that we needed to? Did we miss something? Did we not talk about something? But like, I think a lot of it is that I'm already thinking about tomorrow. Like there are times that I'm thinking about what am I going to do when I get up? What am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do in a couple of days? Like I'm already preparing myself. And the thing is, we prepare and we plan, but we're not even completed with a task prior to the task that we're planning for. And as I learned this past week, that nursing school, it's not like you can just take a bunch of classes however you want. One class unlocks the next class, unlocks the next class. And so like same thing with the tasks that we have at hand and the different situations that we encounter. I think for me personally, going to bed at night, I like the air to be clear,
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean, that can mean so many different things. But for me, it's, that conversation I had with a coworker that was a little bit of a hustle or a bustle, or, maybe a conversation about our podcast where you and I are having a conversation on how maybe we have different viewpoints on something. And it's like, okay, how can we change this up for next week? Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be a negative thing. It's like, what about what's coming up in a couple months? Guess who's getting married in September? Like, that's the kind of, like, I think to myself, what the change that's going to come with that. I'm not just like, yes, Cassandra and I have been together for almost 3 years, but no one is ever really prepared for marriage. But I will say we've gone through a lot together to be as prepared as we possibly can. So you think about what else could we do between now and September to just continue to be as prepared as possible. But it's never really a negative. It's not negative. It's just it really goes back to what you've created a movement where you talk about 24 hours in a day. You literally talk about how you have 24 hours in a day, and we spend most of our time at work. We spend most of our time sleeping. If we really are to sit down and start calculating how much of your day is spent at work, if you're actually working, you spend 12 hours. That means 12 hours are gone at work. Now I got 12 hours left. And if I sleep 6 hours, that means I only have 6 hours left to do everything else that I need to do for the day. Like if you really break it down. But we don't want that. I want 12 hours to do everything I need to do. I want 3 hours of sleep and the rest miscellaneous. But that's not realistic. And I think that we try to, like you do, and I do, we compensate.
Yeah, I mean, so it also like I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it. Like one, this is how I sleep. I sleep broken anyway, and then along with it, also like night shift.
Yeah, you have that.
Like it's crazy because like it doesn't allow you much time to plan. But I can honestly say like now until pretty much the next like 10 to 12 days, I kind of already have mentally planned on in my head like what I'm doing each day already.
Right.
So it just more so now it's like, all right, I was kind of so my train of thought it goes like this. If I sleep for 2 hours, I wake up for 30 minutes and then I'm up, but then I go back to sleep for another 2 hours. I have now effectively slept 4 hours. Other people say that's all right. You only slept about 2 hours and then broken down in another 2 hours. For me, that's a whole 4 hours of sleep. And so to me, I'm just like, all right, that's good enough. I know it doesn't sound right, but that's just the way I have to kind of like retrain my mind into thinking otherwise. Because to me, that just makes sense. And, you know, I think it also has something to do with like there's a certain level of trauma that I'm really really good at operating at, and so like I don't even pay attention to it like when like I have like that level of stress or whatever. Sometimes like I don't even notice it until like I got through it. I'm just like, oh, what just happened? Like I can't believe that just actually happened. But I don't process things in real time well. I just kind of just all right, we just got to get through it. And then I go back and I'm like, whoa, that
Yeah.
is what's
Well, I think because it's also part of it, who you are. You're an analyzer, and you need that extra time to really dive a little bit deeper into the situation that happened or is happening. But I don't want you to feel like this isn't wrapped around just like your sleep. Like I think
no. It's just self
everybody
improvement
can
in general.
plug in. Everybody can
Yeah,
plug in whatever their situation is for your sleep. So like again, like I mean, it's easy for us both to talk about because I can relate to you with the sleep, but I also feel like me personally, I get comfortable, when it comes to certain aspects of my journey, and I will say, you know, I would be okay being an EMT for the rest of my life, but I know that that's not really a rational or a realistic thing if I want to count that as growth. So like I know there are like there's I'm gonna be honest, there's a couple things coming up in and trying to figure out nursing school and getting married. Okay. This is my last little take on this. I got two really important things that have to happen. My uncomfortability is the unknown of what happens with. I have to prioritize nursing school, but I also have to prioritize my wedding, and I'm not going to change my wedding. We're not changing that, right? So my fear is like, and then this is just me thinking the way that I think because I am an overthinker. Um, you have two really important pieces that are moving forward, but I know like on paper they say you're not supposed to skip like classes or miss days in nursing school, but that's not really much of an option. Like I mean I'm gonna have to, right? I mean that's kind of where I'm at. So does it make me feel uncomfortable? Yeah. Does it make me feel comfortable that I would be okay with like skipping another year of nursing school? Sure, I've already done it, but can I afford that? No. So like what I'm trying to get at is that I have a challenge up ahead of me. I have to deal with a conflict, but I'm not going to allow that it's not a bad conflict. It's just like I have to understand that I may have to pick up the slack after I get married. Like nursing school starts pretty much in the same week. So I'll have to miss some sleep maybe or do like double up
more
on my.
than likely you'll lose some sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's the give and take for an amazing life event and starting nursing school. So I don't know, man. I feel like what happens is with being comfortable. In my personal opinion, it does hinder personal growth. What I like though, even though we're talking about having a hard time sleeping for you, right, is that you still understand that you can grow from it. and you are willing to face the adversity, you're willing to jump into it. I think that for anybody out there listening to this today, being comfortable is great, but that's like being in your pajamas and you've checked out all your goals for the day. I feel like when you're forced into being uncomfortable, you do grow. You find yourself looking for new opportunities. You realize that you're capable of doing things. But I think that we limit our growth. Our resistance change. We miss opportunities when we are okay with the everyday same routine, mundane. Like when we don't know what's on the other side, we'd rather just stay on the side that we're comfortable with because it's easier that way. Like people tell me all the time, go work at a different ER. I'm like, nah, I don't want to because I know what I go to work to. I know what kind of patients I get to see every day. I know what kind, I know my coworkers. I know my schedule. So those things come into play, and then we become complacent or we become comfortable, and we don't know what's on the other side. And I feel like there's always room for opportunities to grow. And I think for you, it's like not that I'm trying to tell you, but I think like sleep is going to be your priority in this quarter. For me,
Yeah.
I think that's a good start. You know what? I'll join you on that journey, man. I need to be better about it myself too. Like I feel like I'm okay with getting a few hours of sleep myself too. I agree with you on that. Like I think it's just part of our nature because we want to go get things done and influence people. But I'll join you on that journey. I'll join you on that challenge, and make it something that we actually should do. Like go to bed at a decent time.
Yeah.
So our spouses know that we're being proactive about it, and go from there. I mean, and I'll join you on that, man. I'll join you on that journey.
I'll do my absolute, best. Obviously, again, it's a work in progress, and I almost feel like dismissive of it because, again, it's not something a lot of people really struggle with. So, it's most people will say, "Oh, sleep? Nah, man. You put my head to bed, I'm ready." Like my brother's like that. Like the moment that his head hits the pillow, he's gone, and then he can wake
I'm
up.
jealous, man. I wish I could do it.
I've never been able to do it, and because sometimes I'm standing there, I'm like,
I
I'm just
know.
staring around,
Well,
just like,
I roll. I end up in a
why am I
burrito.
doing this?
I'm like a burrito by the time. I'm like, oh man, I'm stuck in this freaking Steve-O burrito, and it's like, nah, I'm okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd. So yeah, it's something that I'm going to make a conscious effort to get in 5 hours. If I can try to break it down to 5 hours, then I think that would be the best thing I could
If
do.
you go to bed at 11 and you get up at 5, that's 6 hours of sleep. And most gyms open up at 5.
This is true.
So, and you actually told me this.
Yep.
I haven't done it yet. I'm still. I'm still stuck in that uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to get up that early. I'm gonna be late to work. Like that's my fear. See.
So I wake up at 6:30 here on weekdays, and so it depends. If I'm at work, then I'll stay up from 6:30 up until maybe 11 o'clock. Sometimes 10:30. It just depends. But that's usually how long I stay awake. But then on the days that I'm actually off, I'll wake up at 6:30 still because it's 9:30 over on the East Coast. So I trained and now I wake up at that time every day, no matter what. And then I wake up and then I go to the gym between, let's say, I'll go back to sleep for a little bit and I'll probably go between like 9 and 10 or 10 o'clock around there because I'm just like, all right, one, I don't have kids yet, so that's not like something that like I have to necessarily devote my time with. My time with just starts with me, so I can stay up to about 2 in the morning. I usually stay up to about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, not because I have to, but and that's so sometimes it just depends. Like in this season of life currently, I'm not working on anything that would require me to stay up late, but I'm so used to it that I just do it out of habit instead of say, hey, just turn it down. It's okay. It's call it a night. So
Hear
that
that.
leaves me watching a movie till like 1 o'clock, in the morning or something. So
Watch Naruto.
I mean, I haven't watched
No,
that in a little bit, but yes, I have watched it before. Yeah,
it's just great. You always get so smiley when you talk about Naruto.
yeah, I was watching.
Nerd out.
But yeah, again, this is gonna be something that I have to challenge myself into prioritizing making time. So like, the biggest thing was to try to get back into reading the Bible again. Um, I've made it successfully now, like 24 days at the time of this recording. And so I'm like, all right, so it's been 24 days where I've opened it every single day. I've done good enough. So now let me see if I can get a good week. And so I break it down to like, all right, let me see if I could do it. All right, I did it for this week, just for 5 minutes, even if it just means just reading one verse, anything helps. And so I'm forcing myself to do that. And I started it and I'm doing good, but now I have to kind of implement this sleep restfulness. So I'm going to have to like either, I think I'll try to like shut it down around like 12 o'clock or something like that. But I'm still trying to figure it out. So that's why I'm rambling.
That's okay. I just think at the end of the day, man, I feel like this is a great platform for us to be able to share kind of what's going on in our life too. Like I think that it's eye opening for people to just be able to have a conversation about things that we're actually genuinely struggling with. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there who listen to us who have the same issue. They just don't know how to talk about it. So I have nothing else to talk about, man. I do
I
know.
have I have nothing else to add either. Just to check us out on all of our social media platforms, from YouTube to Spotify, to check us out on Instagram, TikTok, the whole 9 yards, the Best You Nation on Instagram, um, Team 24 Hours in a Day. That's my handle on TikTok. And I think it's 24 Hours in a Day on Instagram. So, any point in time, just connect with us. We also have a really sweet website. So we have tons of memorabilia, tons of shirts, tons of things just to support your guys. And
Oh,
like we normally do, we thank you. We appreciate you for tuning in on this episode, and we hope that you listen intently for the next one. And we'll have bigger and better news.
yes.
All right.
All
Take care,
right.
guys.
Peace out.